The selection chamber held 300 witnesses in the kind of silence that forms only when everyone present understands that something is about to go irreversibly wrong. The human raised his hand. He did not point at the dais of candidates. He pointed past them, directly at the Prime Sovereign herself. 3 hours earlier, Ambassador Elias Vance had been handed a briefing packet so thoroughly sanitized it crinkled when he touched it. The solstice draft was, according to that packet, a time-honored tradition. Voluntarily submitted candidates. An honor. A bridge between species. The Vale Cultural Liaison Program had successfully paired 47 Terran diplomats with approved guides over the past 9 years, and not one of those guides had ever been anyone who mattered. Anid Elias had read the packet twice on the transit shuttle and then set it face down on the seat beside him. The chamber itself unsettled him in ways he couldn't immediately name. High-ceilinged, stone-pale and cold. The candidate dais stretched the length of the forward wall. 14 young vile women in formal presentation stoles, their secondary eye membranes lowered in practiced deference. Perfectly curated, perfectly safe. He moved through the introductory procession slowly, nodding where he was supposed to nod, pausing where the protocol officer gestured for him to pause. Each candidate offered a brief formal recitation. He listened to all of them. He watched their hands, their shoulders, the particular stillness of beings performing composure rather than simply having it. Then he saw her. She was not on the dais. She stood to the right of it, slightly elevated on the ceremonial platform, officiating in silence. Tall, silver-threaded formal armor, her upper pair of arms clasped at the wrist in the veiled gesture that indicated authority held at rest. Her lower pair remained still at her sides. Her primary eyes tracked the procession with the calibrated attention of someone managing 15 contingencies simultaneously. Prime Sovereign Lear. The briefing packet had included exactly one photograph and a 3-line biographical note that read more like a warning label than a biography. Ilias stopped walking. The protocol officer made a small, urgent sound beside him. The kind of sound that meant, please don't. He heard it clearly. He processed it fully. He kept looking at her. Where there was something about the way she stood apart from the ceremony she was running. Present in every official sense, unreachable in every real one. He thought about the packet face down on the shuttle seat. He thought about 47 approved liaisons and 47 sanitized cultural exchanges that had apparently taught Terran diplomats very little about the Veil. Given that he was standing here being handed another curated list of approved interactions. The root brew vendor in the lower transit corridor had smelled more like the actual planet than anything in this chamber. He turned to face the dais. The 14 candidates waited. The room waited. 300 attendees in curved observation tiers held the specific stillness of people who believed they already knew how the next 30 seconds would unfold. Elias raised his hand. Weston pointed past all of them. The silence broke in pieces. First the murmur, then the formal objection from the protocol officer, sharp and low, directed at Elias's elbow. Then the rapid conference of advisors closing around Lear like a tide. 4 of them, heads bent, secondary membranes up. She listened without moving. Her primary eyes stayed on Elias across the length of the chamber, steady and unreadable, the way a horizon stays level while everything beneath it shifts. Then she stepped forward and accepted. Her office smelled like cold stone and something faintly resinous. She gave him the itinerary herself, printed, not transmitted, which he suspected was intentional. 7 days. pre-approved sites, escorted at all times. She stood behind her desk for the entire meeting and used the word protocol 4 times in under 2 minutes. He counted. He said the itinerary looked thorough. She said it was. He asked if she'd designed it herself. The pause before she answered was the most interesting thing she'd done since accepting the selection. She had not. The Velas Cultural History Museum was on day 3. Vaulted ceilings, climate-controlled cases, plaques translated into 17 languages, including his. The escort kept a precise 2 steps behind. Lear walked beside Elias with the posture of someone fulfilling an obligation and timing it. He stopped in front of a display on pre-unification agriculture. Entirely by accident, it was genuinely interesting. He turned to say so. She was reading the plaque, not performing the reading, actually reading it, one lower hand lifted slightly as if she'd started to gesture toward something, and then remembered where she was. "Ani," he said quietly, "this isn't for me, is it? Any of it?" Her hand lowered. He said he didn't need the curated version. He said he'd read the packet. He said 47 liaisons, and he was still the first Terran to notice that the pre-unification grain varieties had been developed during an extinction window. Something in her face shifted. Not much. Enough. She told the escort to wait by the entrance. The lower tiers tavern had no translated plaques. It had uneven flooring and a bartender who looked at Elias the way most people looked at weather they hadn't planned for. Lear ordered without consulting him. 2 cups, ceramic, dark liquid, that smelled like scorched earth, and something almost sweet underneath. She set one in front of him. He drank it. It was caustic and it was real, and it tasted nothing like anything in the briefing packet. She watched him not flinch. Something about that seemed to matter to her. The ash gardens were outside the city's formal perimeter, down a road the escort map didn't include. Late light came through in long angles, catching the silver membranes of the memorial structures. Thousands of them, thin as paper, suspended between posts, each one carrying a name. Lear told him the number. 93%. The percentage of her species that had not survived the founding collapse. She said it without ceremony. Just the number, and then silence. And then, "We don't show visitors this. It isn't on the itinerary because it was never designed for itineraries." The memorial structures moved very slightly in the low wind. The names caught the light and lost it and caught it again. He didn't say anything. He didn't reach for anything polished. He just stood beside her in the long quiet of a place that had been grieving longer than his civilization had existed. She kissed him between one breath and the next. Brief, deliberate, the way someone acts before the part of them that manages contingencies can intervene. Then she stood very still, as if cataloging what she'd done. He let her. The advisor's objections lasted the length of one formal meeting. She overrode them before the second was scheduled. The registration went through by morning. Permanent liaison, duration of mission. Her name where an approved candidate's was supposed to be. Elias completed his rotation on Velas Prime in 61 days. On the 62nd, Lear filed for sabbatical. 4 months. Destination, Terra Prime. He found out from the transit manifest, not from her. Her bag, when she arrived at the shuttle dock, was a single carry case, practical, unmarked, chosen by someone who had decided not to perform anything anymore. She was carrying 2 ceramic cups wrapped in cloth, the same ones from the tavern. She'd kept them. She handed one to him without explanation. He took it.